I played that in school assembly once.
Did you?
It's good to see up close how you play it properly.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you do the picking parts and all that?
No, I missed the whole thing out. I did a special Nile version.
I missed some of that as well.
So playing that song sort of leads into the question of doing the anniversary tours for Holy Bible and Everything Must Go. How did that affect how you approach new material? Was there anything that sort of sparked off old thoughts and approaches that you used?
I don't know if I'm deep enough to actually for those things to affect, you know, the new material. I kind of like a little automaton sometimes, you know. I just go out and do things, and then I don't know if they have any bearing on the future, you know. So for me, doing like the Holy Bible, you know, kind of anniversary tour, for me it was all about relearning the songs and almost getting that kind of a, what you might call fighting spirit back, where every song feels like a fight when you're playing it, because there's so many kind of like irregular rhythms going on behind you. There's so many little bits of lead. There's so many little bits of lead guitar which just come out of nowhere, and there's so many words. So I just focused on trying to do it, you know, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. Coming out the other end of that tour, it didn't really set my stall up for new material thinking, oh wow, you know, we've got to do something that's like Archives of Penis, and you know, perhaps I just don't have that depth for other events to give, you know, the future or the present perspective.
What about that aspect of tribalism though? Because we're sort of in an era where everyone's into everything.
Yeah.
And the Manics have always been a great tribe.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, it's surprising that is still there, because, you know, like, you know, I don't care about the number, you know, I'm 50 next year, all I care about is just waking up and feeling shit sometimes. But it's kind of, it's amazing that some people can actually still go right and go to a Manics gig, and I am going to dress accordingly. I think that's amazing. Because as you all know, I struggle with dressing accordingly. And it's kind of, I think, I just absolutely just, I like, you know, I've actually said some quite nice stuff about you. And so let's nip that in the fucking butt. And I'll say one nice thing about you all then, that's it, it's fucking done. Okay? Actually, generally, just, you know, me, Nick and Sean talked about it, you know, when we drive past the front of the venue sometimes, we go to a gig, and we see like 30 people dressed absolutely, entirely appropriately for a Manics gig, as if it was 20 years ago. We're amazed. We're absolutely gratified. It's amazing. And when we did that Holy Bible anniversary tour, that came back out. You know, it really just came back to the fore again. And it was amazing to see people with United Nations berets on, you know, Eastern Germany military gear. Kind of like, you know, it was absolutely stunning, and it really does lift you. It does, and I know it does Nick especially, if he sees somebody that has, you know, made an effort to look like somebody that kind of like from a 1970s era army thing. He thinks, well, I really gotta try tonight. So it's really cool for us. That tribal aspect is really cool for us, and of course, like you say, the Bible is the pinnacle of that, I think.
And sort of in terms of the making of the new record, I'm intrigued, how do you guys play new, because you sort of go away sometimes and maybe Nick would write a song, you and Sean would write a song. How do you play each other new songs? Is there a sort of awkward process that like, journalists have to go through, you have to tap along?
Well, there's still nerves, you know, there are definitely still nerves where kind of like, you know, if I've done all the music by myself, you know, I'm still very nervous if I'm playing it to Nick and Sean for the first time. Just as David, you know, there were a couple of nights where we worked on a demo, because, you know, there were a few songs that didn't come together until the end of the record. And, you know, me and David would finish like a little demo at 2 in the morning, and a skeletal demo, you know. And we would be nervous because, you know, Nick and Sean are coming in tomorrow.
The first time you play something to someone, you hear it completely differently. Like, even if I play some, you know, a mix to my son or something like that, like, it doesn't matter, he doesn't need to say anything, you immediately hear everything that's wrong with it. So it's a very naked thing, playing something to someone for the first time.
And what was the discussion in terms of like the sonic palette? Do you have a discussion between the band and Dave of how you want it to sound, or does that just happen naturally?
No, I mean, kind of, obviously, you know, me, Nick and Sean endlessly talk about things, and Nick likes a good, big monolithic kind of like, you know, block of detail. Kind of, so we've talked things out a lot. And sometimes that helps, and sometimes you stray from, you know, your own MO, your own mission statement, wherever. And then usually you just, it's very simple, you know, you start pushing some demos the producer's way, and you just say this, that, this, that, this, that. Sorry to be so prosaic about it, but
There is one thing that I love working about the man is they always have a sonic manifesto. There's always references. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I won't, but I could name lots of references from lots of the records over the years. And like it says, like sometimes you go in a completely different direction, but it's so good to have a starting point. So good to, you know.
Were there any moments on this record where James would do something and you'd be like, don't do that, James?
with this band, it's a very, very different relationship I have with this band than with any other band. With this band, I was the T-boy on their first indie single, so your relationship tends to be built on where it begins, right? So with a lot of bands, obviously, I'm coming in as the producer, and you know, there's some hits and stuff, and they're going to listen to what I say. With this band, it's about they already have a very, very strong vision, and it's about making that happen and taking sometimes slightly obtuse descriptions of the way they want the music to be and making them come out the speakers. So with Tolerate, it was like James said he wanted like a comet coming through the sky, and you've got to sort of find a way to sonically make it happen. But there's clearly like a vision from the very beginning.
I said a comet of history that has left the Earth and is revisiting the Earth and is disappointed with what it's seeing. I would paraphrase. No, I can think of lots of examples. I mean, kind of like the solo on Hold Me Like a Heaven. On the demo, I'd done like a bit of a chord George Harrison kind of like a thing. And so I tried to replicate that in the studio, in Dr. the River Studios. And Nick and Sean definitely were into it. I could tell Dave wasn't into it. And Dave said, you know, come on, let's try something else. Come on, let's try something else, you know. So you definitely. And then I remember the solo on Golden Platitudes. You wanted that and more George Harrison. I can't fucking win. And then I remember kind of like, I was putting another guitar across the masses, and you said, no, let's try some fuzz, and we had a big argument about that. So I remember with all the Boris.
So how do you take that when he says no? Are you
million guitars on the verse guitar on Masters Against the Classics he re-recorded 50 times?
I'd say with Dave, with like vocally, he really kind of like, you know, if something's Dave will pick up on if I'm pushing it too hard, if the diction is not there, which in the past, you know, a lot of diction was quite dodgy. And kind of like,
he had a lot of words to fit in, to be fair.
Did, yeah, but still, it's no excuse. But kind of like, you know, Dave on vocals, you know, he's very, very patient on vocals, and he will say, by the way, this is happening on that line, this is happening on that line. And like, so I'll store it and log it. No, it's kind of, Dave is a, you know, here we go again. Dave is a really good collaborator, yes, because he'll work till, he's still doing a pitch I know that will actually work till 2 in the morning. You know, and then he'll start at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you know, in the morning. So that's a massive part. I love that thing of just being locked in the studio and just going through.
It is still, like, we are making music. That's the best thing that you can do. What else do you want to do?
Music journalism?
Well, that's obviously also a great thing. But, you know, I mean, like, lots of people go to work and do a job that they don't like, and then they come home and do what we are incredibly privileged to get paid for fun. Do you know what I mean? So, why not? What we're going to do? Go out and watch the telly.
What were the working hours, and what is the routine that you go into when you're making a record?
Yeah, Nick and Sean usually get there for about 10. I usually get there about 11. So people get late till the night. Nick and Sean usually go about 6 in the evening, 6:30 in the evening. Sometimes a bit later. I usually go about 1 or 2 in the morning. And Dave was staying at the studio, as you obviously already know, because he did his footing by stepping on my guitars. So that's like, you know, it was 5 days a week really.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had weekends off.
Did you feel on Shackled that this record had less of an overarching concept? After maybe Rewind the Film and Futurology was...
I
don't know. There's no hard and fast rules. You know, all these kind of things kind of drive me a bit mad, really. You know, I remember when I first.
Sorry.
No, it's good. No, it's cool. But it really is. There's so much more pragmatism involved, isn't it? With writing or making music or just playing a gig or whatever. You know, my dad. You know, my dad will tell me, you know, like, you know, at least 4 different ways how to build a dry wall, you know? It's kind of, when you get the first go to a proper studio, you'll always come up against that engineer that says, you know, oh, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or don't do that, or you can't drop in on that, or like, no, I need the vocal in 1 take. It's bollocks. No, it really is though, it's really important, you know? It's kind of like, really kind of like, you don't need to follow these rules. Like on the Holy Bible, the concept definitely helped. Absolutely. Yeah, but you know, you would assume that sometimes, you know, a concept can drag you down, kind of thing, but it doesn't. It really sets you free because you know what you're working with, you know. And then on kind of like Rewind the Film, there was on futurology. You know, I found it harder to tag on to Nick's kind of, you know, kind of broader concept of what was going on lyrically with the meeting, you know, the kind of the what would you call kind of the chance meeting of all these, you know, disparate art movements, you know, in like a, you know, early 20th century in Europe, late 19th century. You know, I found it hard to tap into that musically, so I had to really work at it. So, you know, that concept didn't free me up, but on the Holy Bible, it really did free me up. So it depends on the material, you know.
Nick said at the beginning of this record that it was, I might be misquoting him here, like a songwriting masterclass kind of thing, and that was what I took from it. That every song needed, you know, it was like vocal centric. It was melody. Everything had to be melody on every song, and that felt like a concept to me.
Okay, before we enter the track by track phase, do you want to play another song, James?
Yeah.
Right, and to play another song.